Start off with white as usual, a nice strong dose of white. That goes in there. Now this is a nice strong application. And it's cut around there. There's a little bit of white on the edge of this little flap behind the ear. And we put that on like that. Now this is a strong application. Now we're doing that because there will be no other colours that we'll be putting in apart from the grey, so it won't weaken those strong colours. Now conversely, over here we're going to put in what I call a half tone, or a lighter application of white. Now the idea is we will be putting other colours on here, stronger colours, and they will register better because we're not putting it the white quite so strong. The other thing is here, what I've got to do here is to establish right from the beginning some hair that will be interfered with to a certain extent as we progress, but we'll be able to pick it up later. So once again, that's quite a strong application, and again we'll be only using the greys in there. Okay, that's so far so good. Now just in here I want just a little bit of white, but not a lot, because we're going to be making that quite dark eventually. Okay. Now we can put some grey where the black is going to be eventually. A little tough there. I'm not going to expand it any more than I've done there, because we would be putting a background on this animal, and I am going to show you that later on briefly. Now here we just fade it away, but right on the very edge we've just got to bring a little grey like that. Excellent, good. Now we also want to put some grey in on top of this white that I've been putting in, just a little bit, so that we have a little colour like that, and just a little bit, not a lot, just around there, just a little, and I can cut back in here. So remember the hard strong white we put in, well, that's going to be interfered with a little bit there, and a little bit of grey around there. Now I also want to put some grey in this white, strong white here, but not a lot, just a little. That's it. Now that gives us something to butt into, you see, so we can now afford to be just a little stronger where we have the strongest, darkest part of that, especially when it hits that light fur on the top of the head. That's coming along now. And the other thing we'll do while we're here, we just give a little bit of depth, a little stronger grey on the edge there, and we'll be putting other colours in that in a minute. Okay, like that. And also down in here we want a little bit of strength, leaving that white if we can on the ear and on the little bit of flap that I've got. We can re-establish that anyway if it goes wrong. Now what I'm going to do now is put a little bit of the ivory pencil just in here. Oh, let's use ivory now, and that will act as a fill-up really for all the little holes that I left when I put the white in there, that half tone. It also acts to bring the grey, smooth it out, bring it a little bit softer. There we are, like that. Great, and we also want to go in here with it. Same purpose really, using the ivory really as a blender for the grey. Now this is an ochre. It works really well with the grey, and I'm going to put the little ochre in first of all around that edge, and in here I'm going to put a little bit of grey on that in a while, grey it up a little bit, but I'm just going to bring a little bit of that colour into there as well, and generally we want it as a colour in the ear. like that, nice and soft. You see that the way the lead is flat on the paper. Right, now we're going to put some more grey on top of that ochre to give us a much stronger edge to the ear, and that fades off as it gets to there, and certainly in here where we really want to go. Now quite deep, cut back in. You see it looks as though the white's coming over the top of the grey the way I'm doing that, and we'll be re-establishing it in a little while. There's a little grey on there as well. Okay, now I think we're nearly there. Now I want to darken the edge now. Now ultimately that's going to be black, but to start with I'm going to use Payne's grey very, very carefully through here, and we're going to make it quite solid. There we are, and then on the other side like that, and it fades away as it gets to there, and we do want it round here too, so we can strengthen that bit. That's it. There we are. Good. And now I'm going to use a brown. This is a lovely colour, and especially on top of those greys and the ochre, and just it deepens the colour, brings it back a little bit, and in here, much deeper here now. And I'm going to show you in a second or two how we can bring that rather harsh colour there much more subdued. But I'm just going to do this bit before I do that to make that a lot darker. And you see now there's much, much darker in there, and then fade away. All I'm doing is lifting the pencil off the paper there so that we're getting a much softer transition between the two. Now that's looking nice. What you do, you go in with the ochre again, almost really sandwiching the two colours together. You see that? You get a lovely rich colour. And then a very clever move now, we're going to use the ivory again, this time just to blend out. See how that now has a much better transition between those two. Now this is tricky, but this is a demonstration DVD, so I'm demonstrating now the benefits and maybe the slightly more advanced techniques which you've possibly seen in other videos. There we are now. You see how that's now beginning to really look nice and soft. Good. Now we need to darken the edge much, much stronger now. And you see, you can just see just here where I put the ochre earlier, you kind of have a buffer between those two, and then the black, comes along very, very carefully. It's worth taking a little bit of time on that. Comes off there, a little touch of black into there, but not a lot, just a touch. Then what we're going to do then is to bring the white back. Now watch this white back come back again now. And bring it in nice and strong. It disappears around the corner, and then it's nice and strong in here. Now looks different to what it did when we first started, and just a little bit of white in there, bringing it back. Look at the difference between the two. But what it's left with is a little bit of tone in it. It's not just dead white now. What we've done is created a very attractive, there you go, look at that, very attractive effect. Now this is where it gets a little trickier. What we're going to do now is bring the white, watch this little marking on the pencil, because what I'm going to do is going to flick it now and twist it as I go. What we don't want to do here is make that all too regular. We want the odd hair to flick out like that. But look how that's now effectively had a terrific contrast between those two. And we've got to do the same. I'm just going to turn this around slightly because it's easier for me to push. Now what I'm going to do now is do the same here, but watch this now. I'm coming back this way so it kind of pours it from within. Twist the pencil as you do it. You'll see that I'm twisting it as I go, and then we can just bring the hair out back over the top. Now that, folks, is great fun and well worth the time it takes to do it. I hope you agree.